Last night, I had the honor of convening an online gathering for the recitation of Yizkor memorial prayers. These prayers will be recited again on Sunday at our in-person tefillah, and then again later Sunday morning at a Yizkor only gathering, that both of which will take place in the parking lot. Yizkor on Pesach raises the same sorts of questions that are raised by the recitation of Yizkor at any holiday. In general, on holidays and Yamim Tovim, we don't mourn. If God forbid someone were to be buried at today, there'd be no recitation of the Kel Malei Rachamim memorial prayer. We don't recite it all month long, in fact, because the month of Nisan is a festive month in the Jewish calendar. And yet we say Yizkor prayers on Pesach. And there are many explanations that have been shared over the centuries for how it could be consistent with a festival to recite prayers that are mourning. One set of answers hones in on the fact that at its core, Yizkor is nothing more than a pledge to tzedakah, and donation to tzedakah, and the element of tzedakah is part and parcel, is core to the celebration of all of the holidays as they're described in the Torah itself. Another set of explanations roots Yizkor as expressing a cathartic need to express, give voice to our sadness, even at times of rejoicing, when we remember those who are not at our holiday table with us, those who are not able to join us at the Seder. And so it actually enhances our ability to celebrate, to pause for a moment and recite Yizkor prayers. But I recently encountered another approach. This was an essay that I read in this really wonderful, wonderful book, Drashot Elami, by Rav Moshe Vigdor Amiel, a collection of drashot given by Rav Amiel, who was chief rabbi of Tel Aviv early in the 20th century, a remarkable figure, easily one of the top five unfairly overlooked rabbinic figures of the 20th century. Really incredibly creative and knowledgeable a teacher and orator. And he actually won his position, that election to be chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. He beat out competition from Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, who ended up in Boston instead of Tel Aviv, and Rav Herzog, who stayed in Ireland until he eventually made his way to Israel as the chief rabbi of the state of Israel. But he had lost out in the election to Rav Amiel some years earlier in the competition to be chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. So Rav Amiel notes that there are actually elements of memorial and memorializing that are actually part and parcel of the Pesach story. Of course, our liberation from Egypt begins with a horrific plague that causes mass death. The Torah says, "Ein bait asher ein sham mate," not a single home in Egypt where there was not someone dead. But then, as we're on our way out of Egypt, Moshe then pauses to retrieve himself personally the bones of Yosef and to bring them with him. Moses took with him the bones of Joseph, who had exacted an oath from the children of Israel on Joseph's deathbed, saying, "God will be sure to take notice of you. Then you shall carry up my bones from here with you. Valotem et atzmotai mizeh itzechem." And we fulfilled that obligation. And Rav Amiel writes very poignantly about the fact that year after year, as we marched through the desert for 40 years, we brought with us the bones of Yosef. We carried them with us on our journey. The Gemara in Sota actually very poignantly compares the bones of Yosef that were in an aron, in a coffin, to the other aron, the Ark of the Covenant that also was at the center of our camp as we marched through the desert. And so there were these two aronot, these two compartments that were at the heart of our movement through the wilderness. One was the Aron Hashchina, that God's presence was focused on that ark, the Ark of the Covenant, and the other Aron carried the bones of Yosef that we brought with us on our journey. Rav Amiel writes and says, we all carry bones with us, okay? Not the skeletons in the closet, but the skeletons in the Aron, the memories of our dearly departed, people who with whom we celebrated Pesach in years past, people who shaped us, people who transformed us, people whose legacy we try to live up to in our day-to-day life. And wherever they're buried, they're with us, okay? Those remains are with us. Those memories are with us and continue to inspire us. But Rav Amiel says the point is not to live in the past, in the shadow of those bones, but that the bones of Yosef, the Aron of Yosef, was right in the desert, was matched with the ark that contained the Shekhinah, the divine presence, as we marched onward towards redemption, towards a purpose of building something new. And that theme is expressed powerfully and poetically in the Haftarah of this very Shabbat, the Haftarah that we read tomorrow in Shul from Ezekiel 37, the vision of the dried bones. Okay, Ezekiel is shown by God a valley, and it was full of bones. And the prophet says, he led me all around them. There were very many of them spread over the valley, and they were very dry. He said to me, O mortal, son of man, can these bones live again? And I replied, Oh Lord God, only you know. And he said to me, prophesy over these bones and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus said the Lord God to these bones, I will cause breath to enter you, and you shall live again. And that imagery of just a valley of bones, of dried bones being somehow brought back together and being given spirit, okay, from God, and walking again. That's a powerful metaphor, and the Yechezkel is given the interpretation of that vision. It says, he said to me, O mortal, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Ben Adam Hatzamot Te'ela Kol Beit Yisrael Hema. They say our bones are dried up, our hope is lost. Va'avda tikvatenu. We are doomed. Prophesy therefore and say to them, thus said the Lord God, I am going to open your graves and lift you out of the graves, O my people, and bring you to the land of Israel. You should know, my people, that I am the Lord when I have opened your graves and lifted you out of your graves. And so a powerful image. This is, I wouldn't say metaphor, this is literally the story of 20th century Jewish history, a story that continues into our present day, but it's also really applicable as well on the personal level. And that's as Rav Amiel explains, that our memories, that especially as we percolate in those memories over Pesach, especially when we pause from the celebration to recite Yizkor prayers, that the memories should animate, should have life, okay? They shouldn't just be dead. They should animate us towards action, right? There's a story of Steinsaltz, Alav Shalom, who died just this past year, a tremendous teacher for many decades. He once spoke, and someone said, "Oh, Rabbi, your speech really inspired me." And he responded, "Inspired you to what?" Inspiration has to be towards something. It has to be inspired to do something, okay? So our memories need to be to inspire us to do something, okay? Towards something, towards a direction. The bones of Yosef accompanied us on our way to Eretz Israel. The bones that Yechezkel saw stood up, and they were given life, and they moved, and they were revived. And so too our memory should inspire us to acts of kindness, to mitzvot, to involvement in Torah, to strengthening our connection to other people, and to strengthening the Jewish people, and to strengthening the flourishing of all humanity. Okay, that's how the bones can be given life. That's how our memories can inspire us to do something. I wish you all a very joyous Pesach. I'm really excited that more and more of you are able to join us in person. Our tefillot are now outdoors. The weather forecast is perfect. If I don't see you there, maybe I'll see you strolling, taking a yenta stroll in the streets of Lakeview, or I'll see you on some online gathering in the coming days. I really wish you a very happy Yom Tov as Pesach ends. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.